This is the Digital Savage Experience Podcast, hosted by Roman Prokopchuk, bringing you all things digital marketing, tech, business, and motivation. What's stopping you from becoming relentless in all aspects of life? Are you ready to become a digital savage? Let's get into today's episode.
Hey everyone, this is Roman Prokopchuk, and this is the Digital Savage Experience, episode 60. Don't sleep on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's really grown globally in terms of membership and becoming a prominent content social media platform where obviously content is the focus. Before, LinkedIn was mainly for obviously recruitment and job searches, not necessarily known for its content and possibilities of content and who you're reaching organically, but it's really increased in terms of the amount of creators in the B2B space that it houses, people creating dedicated content for LinkedIn, people natively uploading video to LinkedIn, not only sharing a link to external video platform like YouTube, and it's really developed from a paid perspective as well. They just recently turned around and updated their interface for paid, so it's a lot more user-friendly. It has more features as well, and it's a lot more streamlined for developing a targeted campaign that suits your needs. So I would highly recommend it if you're looking to do anything in terms of paid on a social platform and you're trying to reach a B2B audience. LinkedIn is the way to go. And then don't sleep on groups as well. LinkedIn groups are powerful. I've tested them time and time again in terms of the potential of how much traffic organically you can drive just from the groups alone. And small tests, smaller companies, I've gotten results of a few thousand visits from groups alone to specific blog posts, to specific white papers, to specific case studies. So it is very powerful. You just have to stay on top of it. And obviously you have to do research like with anything on other social platforms and other areas of social media. So you have to look at the engagement of that specific community. You have to look at the posts daily, weekly, monthly, whatever frequency you want to use, and basically how many likes, how many shares, how many comments a post gets, so you can understand which group to post over another. And obviously the amount of members that you can see obviously interacting on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Obviously, in terms of time with LinkedIn, users tend to spend less time than on platforms such as Facebook and Instagram, but that time is valuable because those users are very targeted, and you can use criteria like in terms of a company name or the specific professional role title that person holds. So you can obviously sell them whatever your product or service or whatever else you're trying to promote or reach a targeted audience with. But don't do one of these things. You need to holistically do everything. So by that, I mean have a dedicated strategy directed specifically at LinkedIn. So I mean developing the amount of frequency you want to post on, the type of content. It's going to be broad in terms of your brand, either company or personal, or you're targeting a specific subset specific category of businesses, or, branding and wanting to represent your company as a whole, and basically tailoring what you're trying to do and who you're trying to reach to avoid a lot of the noise. So with that, obviously I would develop the appropriate imagery, the appropriate video clips, audio clips, and then understand in terms of the actual text for the posts. Developing that, step one, obviously. Then you want to figure out what your budget is for paid as well. You're going to run dedicated campaigns and the type of campaigns, or you just want to sponsor individual social posts you put out, like similar to Facebook in terms of sponsored content, and basically boost it in terms of Facebook and reach a community that is already targeted. Let's say for something like increasing your, B2B informational content readership. So you want more activity on your blog, basically identify, what your budget and what you're willing to spend. $100, a few $100 over a few days to increase that readership, and basically take it from there. And as always, try to add value, as much value as possible. The more successful it's going to be. And then don't neglect groups with that. So with groups, reiterate your organic post, basically share it within those groups. Do research on the groups and figure out what group is the best option in terms of activity, engagement, and size. And then don't neglect things like LinkedIn posts for your personal brand, or even promoting your company. So, native content on LinkedIn or any platform is powerful. But you have to harness that power. So by that, I mean there's a lot of inconsistencies with brands and how they target social media, especially in the B2B space. A lot of companies ignore social. Social is one of the best avenues to deliver informational content, make people aware of your brand, and basically stay top of mind for people that may come back, and basically add in terms of a step to help with an assisted conversion and be a pillar in that assisted conversion. So regardless of what you do, you need to do something. So doing nothing is inadequate. So I see some brands basically share one thing that's irrelevant or super random, let's say today, and then in 3 weeks they share 3 things, and then in a month they share 2 things. And then 1 month they share things every other day. The next month they share things once a week in terms of content. And that inconsistency is tough for a community. If you're trying to build a community, if you're trying to grow your follower base and following, being inconsistent is one of the biggest things that can hurt you. So for other things like this is a podcast, if you expect an episode at least once a week and out of nowhere that podcast drops off for one reason or another, and they start, putting out 1 episode a month, you're more likely to go elsewhere to get content of a similar nature. That holds true to social media as well, especially on LinkedIn. The company is sharing a lot of great content that's connecting to their target audience, but it's inconsistent. That engagement for that community and that possible growth and added value is going to be super inconsistent and is never going to get solid. You're never going to have a loyal following in terms of engagement if you're not willing to invest some kind of frequency that makes sense to you, that you can maintain of the amount of content you're putting out, and basically maintain that over time. I mean, it doesn't have to be, a million things, but if you decide you're going to put out one post a day, then you better put out one post a day. Because if you don't, somebody else is going to get that attention after a while because you're inconsistent. So I recommend, if you're starting off, at least one post a day. If you can't do that, try 2 to 3 a week if you're a B2B brand. But it has to add value. The more value it adds, the greater the engagement will be. And also content that's, emotionally evoking and has touch points to a personal aspect of one's life. So basically highlighting your employees, showing a charity event you've done, showing your employees at a happy hour or a company function or an after hours thing where you can see another side of your company and those employees really helps and really adds authenticity to your brand.
If you're like me, finding a place to eat is never an easy thing to do. Whether I'm in my hometown of Ewing, New Jersey, or traveling, I always find myself wishing I had a trusted friend I could call to tell me where to eat. The infatuation is that friend. The infatuation helps you find the right restaurant for any situation. Need a place for a first date? Trying to find a spot for your birthday that you don't want to celebrate except you also kind of do? The infatuation has you covered in all of these situations and many more. So if you ever need to find a place to eat but don't want to read through thousands of unreliable crowdsourced reviews, hit up theinfatuation.com or download the free app for iOS and Android to search thousands of restaurant reviews and guides in 22 major cities around the world. Or let the infatuation do the work for you by sending a text to 64560. A real person will respond and help you find a restaurant that's perfect for whatever situation you find yourself in.
This podcast has been brought to you by Nova Zora Digital. Find out how Nova Zora Digital can help your company grow online. Learn more at novazoradigital.com. Until next time, all you digital savages.